Sex, baby, let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex.
So, tell me about your sex life.
So my sex life hasn't always been the easiest. There was a point where it just got really hard for me to enjoy. Honestly, it started when I got married. You'd think that being a newly wedded couple, that we would be so excited to have sex, and that just wasn't the case for me. And I felt so bad. Even when my mind wanted to have sex, my body didn't. I really think that a lot of why I couldn't enjoy sex to the fullest was because of the way that I grew up. I'm Filipino, so I was raised Catholic, and if you know, you know. I never had that traditional sex talk that most people's parents give them. I never got that. We never had a talk because we didn't want to talk about sex or that topic ever, or in general. And because of that, like, I grew up thinking that sex was shameful and dirty and wrong.
It didn't really help that Vlad also had a really big.
We hear those commercials all the time about endometriosis and how women have painful sex because of that.
Painful periods, pelvic pain in between periods, and pain with sex.
I felt like maybe there's something wrong with me. I was so scared, and so I decided to talk to my OBGYN. Upon visiting my OBGYN, I discovered that I had an inverted uterus. Oh no, sorry, not inverted uterus, retroverted uterus. Now, what is a retroverted uterus, you might ask? Good question. A normal uterus, also known as an anteverted uterus, tilts forward towards the bladder, and a retroverted uterus tilts backwards towards the rectum, which is this pink thing right here. And if this doesn't help, let's look at another reference. Normal tilts forward, retroverted tilts not forward. Finding out that I had a retroverted uterus was very helpful because even what sex positions you do affect how much you enjoy sex when you have a differently positioned uterus. And there's other positions that a uterus can apparently be placed in too. And so I highly encourage, if you don't know what direction your uterus is facing, that maybe you should consult your OBGYN and find out about that. Now, another important thing my OBGYN recommended to me was pelvic floor therapy. Pelvic floor therapy, a specialized area of physical therapy which focuses on addressing issues with muscles, ligaments, and connective tissues in the pelvic region, helping with conditions like bowel incontinence, bowel problems, sexual dysfunction, and pelvic pain, according to Google. Pelvic floor therapy is definitely not as intense or awkward as you would imagine. I mean, I wasn't doing like Kegels or anything like that, but basically for 6 months, what I did every day and night was I would do basic gentle yoga stretches or leg stretches. But then within about 2 months of therapy, we progressed to using dilators. And we basically had to start from the smallest size, which is, how many inches is this? Give me a ruler. You guys. So this is about 4.5 inches for the smallest size. And then I think the circumference is like, I don't know, an inch. The girth. Dilator 101. So what I was told to do when I did pelvic floor therapy was basically we would start off with the smallest size dilator, and you would place it into your vagina. Yes, pretend this is your vaginal lips and stuff, and you gotta make sure you like spread it open, okay? Like you gotta get in there. Because the point is that if you don't spread it open, it's going to hit the sides or the walls of your, damn it, I forgot the name for it. But the point is, if you don't spread your lips wide enough, then you're going to hit the sides of the walls and it's going to make it harder to go in, and there's gonna be a lot of friction there. Therefore, it's gonna lead to painful sex or painful insertion of a dilator. So anyways, once you got this open enough, you take the dilator and you put it inside. Yes, pretend that it goes deeper. And we wanna make ooh, juicy. We want to make sure the dilator goes in at like about 80% in. It doesn't have to go all the way to the base. And You just let it sit there literally for 5 minutes. Then we can add a little spice to it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it to the right, and you're gonna tell yourself, I am turning it to the right before you do it. So that way you're telling your body what you're gonna do and it doesn't get surprised. And then you're gonna say, now we're gonna turn to the left, and you're gonna turn it to the left. And you pretty much just do this for another 5 minutes. And once you have successfully done this like for 3 days in a row, then we can move up to the next size. And that's how I've been taught to use a dilator. And eventually you get to this big boy. Yeah. It took a few months, but for reference, this is about the size of my husband's penis. Yeah, so.
Should observe a moment of silence.
It was so funny because literally my therapist was like, most people's partners aren't even as big as the biggest size. And I literally looked at the biggest size and I was like, no, like this is it. This is his size. And she was like, oh. But eventually 6 months later, I finally felt comfortable using this and it was time to start doing the real thing.
It's time.
And yes, it really felt different. I was shocked and amazed that I could finally enjoy sex for once. Everything changed, and now I can finally enjoy sex with my husband and not feel guilty about it, and also not feel pain, which is so important because something like sex it's normal and it's something special that you get to do with your partner. Let's look at what we've learned so far. Takeaway number 1. Consult with your OBGYN. If you feel like you're having painful sex or you're struggling to enjoy sex with your partner or with whoever you're dating, consult with your OBGYN and ask them for advice. I'm not a medical expert, but they are, and they'll definitely know what the next steps are for you on whether or not you can consider pelvic floor therapy, or maybe there is something wrong with you. Luckily, there wasn't any with me, but you never know. I don't know, but they do. So consult with your OBGYN for more information. Number 2. Consider actual therapy, and I mean mental health therapy. And no, going to therapy doesn't mean that you're crazy or anything, but therapists can really help you learn more about your emotions and maybe something that happened with your past or is happening with your present that will help you make more sense about your feelings towards your body or sex or your partner or whatever. I know that when I was going through therapy, I talked to my therapist about sex pretty frequently as well, and she definitely helped me look at it from a different perspective, which was really helpful. It isn't talked about enough. And you can also do therapy on your own or with your partner as couples therapy. Tip number 3, learn about your body. I didn't find out until my OBGYN scanned my, well, not her, but like the ultrasound people scanned my area and found out that I had a retroverted uterus. And that has helped me a lot in terms of insight as to what works better for me when it comes to sex positions, or just generally learning about what feels comfortable for me and what's good for my body. And I think learning about your body is just helpful in so many different ways. If you do go see your OBGYN and you feel like that's important, maybe ask her if you can find out what direction your uterus is pointing, or even if you're playing with yourself at some point, like figure out what feels good for you and what doesn't. I think even that just is really helpful when it comes to knowing what's pleasurable for you when you're having sex with your partner, or just generally knowing what feels good for you. And number 4 is talk to your partner or whoever you're having sex with. Just communicate, because no one can read your mind. I certainly can't read your mind, and neither will they. So just literally tell them, like, what do you feel comfortable with? What do you not feel comfortable with? What do you like, don't like, etc. Like, no one's ever gonna be able to know what you're thinking and what you like unless you communicate that with them. And also just how you're generally feeling. When I was doing pelvic floor therapy and before I even started this whole process, Vlad was so supportive the whole way. I told him about everything that I was going through, which was a very difficult conversation to have. I was so worried and I felt bad because I just wanted it to work. I mean, we have a great relationship, but for some reason, the sex just, you know, wasn't working at the time. But yeah, he just was super patient with me and he waited. My pelvic floor therapist told me I wasn't allowed to have sex pretty much the whole time I was doing pelvic floor therapy, which was for about like 6 months. And as you can imagine, that is really difficult for people to do, for people to wait. And Vlad was totally fine with it. He knew that that's what I needed at the time. And eventually we were finally able to enjoy sex again, which was something at one point I felt like I was never gonna be able to do. But I think that is the biggest takeaway of all, is to know that there is a solution. If you are having painful sex, or for some reason just unable to have sex with your partner or whoever it is you're dating, whatever, you can figure it out. There is something that can be done and there are ways to go about it. So just don't give up. And I really hope that this video has helped you in some way, shape, or form. And if it hasn't, well, I hope you at least enjoyed it. So yeah, until then, I will see you next time. Bye. It's not really a mic drop moment. That was good.
I hope happy.